Evolve together with Empower People. Introducing Empower People, a nonprofit that is here to educate and connect leaders to empower the people, organizations, and communities they serve. Picture this: a world where everyone is connected, communities thrive, and individuals have the knowledge and skills to create positive change and live out their purpose. That's what Empower People is all about. We offer a wide range of courses, learning and growth development programs, and our signature Empower Hour event. Our services are centered on education and connection to support purpose-driven leaders. Ready to take the next step? Visit our website at www.empowerpeople.org. That's MPWRpeople.org. And join the Empower People community as an individual, nonprofit, or for-profit organization. You can also find us on our On the Mic with Mike program, Evolve Together with Empower People, where I, Tiffany Joy Greene, MBA founder, executive director, and ex-officio of Empower People, and guests will share insight on driving purpose-driven businesses, nonprofit, and for-profit. You can also find us on LinkedIn and Facebook. So what are you waiting for? Join Empower People today and unlock your true purpose. Evolve together.
You know what we need, Mike? We need a mic to drop.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is Tiffany Greene. I'm Mike King. This is the Empower Hour here on the Mike King Biz Radio, ESPN Richmond. That's where we're coming to you from. The lady behind the magic, the myth, the legend, it is Tiffany Greene. Welcome back to the program, ma'am.
Thanks for having me, Mike. I love talking with you. Always feel invigorated, full of adrenaline afterward.
That is true. We're just Energizer bunnies around here. All right, really quickly, let's talk about Empower People.
So Empower People is a nonprofit, and as you just heard in that about 60-second commercial, we're a nonprofit that provides education and connection to purpose-driven, mission-driven leaders, because we're aiming to drive positive impact and ergo to empower people. That's the name.
That is, we always talk about great topics, the line between business, for-profit, nonprofit. You are the person who is out there talking about that. You always have some great topics. What are we going to talk about today?
I wanted to surprise you today, Mike.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is scary. There you go. Hold on 1 second. Tiffany Greene.
So what I wanted to do today is kind of find out how you discovered your purpose, Mike, and what your purpose is with On the Mic with Mike. How did you uncover that? I flipped the script on you, Mike. I flipped the script.
Ladies and gentlemen, I was not expecting that. Okay. The idea behind this was that I was helping a person out and market his radio program. I did that. He said, "Would you like a radio show?" And I said, "Okay, what am I going to talk about?" Whenever he would give me airtime, I'd always bring in these nonprofits and talk about what they did, because they didn't get a lot of time. And next thing you know, I got to be known as the person who talked to some of the nonprofits. I really didn't know a lot of people, but, they came through, the ones who I talked to. Then when I had the show, it's just like, okay, I'm talking about how business helps society be better. That was what I grew up with. My mom and dad always owned their own businesses, and people always came through. My dad was the guy who knew everybody, and there's a power in that. There's a currency in that, It's all about the people you know and who knows you. And I just started talking to business people and nonprofits, and over the course of these last 4 years or so, almost 5 years, it's really turned into the idea that I talk to business people, and then we talk about the purpose, and it's not just the markets. It's not about the hardcore business stuff. It's like when I talk to you, it's like the touchy-feely stuff that in the past, it was just the feel-good stuff. But now we talk about it, and you say, and these are things I learned from you, it's like it has a bottom line. It has an effect on a bottom line. And so that's the idea of what we do, and that's the story.
I like that, and I'd like to elaborate a little bit about what you're saying about how you like, you know, what I talk about in terms of purpose-driven organizations and how every organization exists to fulfill some sort of purpose, which is bigger than the bottom line. I actually got an email from somebody last week that said, "Hey, I'm working on my business development plan, and I know that I'm supposed to have a revenue goal, but I'm sure I'm missing out on a lot of KPIs. What are they?" Right? And I said, well, there's a lot of information that I can share with you right now, right? Because revenue is actually a KPI and it's not a goal. So I said, how many people, because I'm not going to divulge because it's confidential, right? So, but how many people are you looking to impact in 2024? What's your main goal? Now, this is not a nonprofit. This is a for-profit. So this is a whole different, think about that. Like most people go, well, I want to make this amount of revenue, or I want to make this amount of profit. What are the activities, ultimately, what are the activities I'm going to have to do to generate that, right? That's how
Yeah.
most businesses think. So I kind of flipped it. How many people do you want to, how many people did you impact this year? And how many people do you want to impact next year?
You know, it's one now, I don't know. So last year, what I did was I put that in terms of how many minutes of free airtime did I offer to people. Now, I don't know. That's one metric. But in reality, when you start talking about the number of people that I impacted, those are people that call and say, "Hey, Mike, do you know?" Or Mike, I was thinking this, and Mike, hold on a second, I got the perfect person. Those are harder to put a number on that because those are just conversations.
But are they? So I could challenge you and say, well, if somebody says, hey, Mike, you know, I'm looking for, we'll just come up with I'm looking for a banker who specializes in small business banking. And you could say, well, gee, I know.
Actually, okay.
And then you track of that. You keep
Okay.
track of every connection you make. And then at the end of every year, when you say this is what on the mic with Mike has achieved this year, you can literally say, I had 155, I made 155 connections last year.
So every connection, every conversation basically needs to be documented.
Absolutely. It's all about
Whoa.
documentation. Yes. And that's where a lot of small businesses and nonprofit, when I say small business, I'm also including nonprofits, they're not documenting. So how do you document that? You can document it in any kind of CRM, client relationship management system. There's a lot of them you can choose from. I personally use HubSpot. Theirs is free, so you really have no excuse in terms of a financial reason not to use it. And you can start keeping track of all your activities that you're having, all your tasks. Then you can generate lists at the end of the year to really keep track of all the things that you're doing. So from a business perspective, there's different ways of looking at it. So from a purpose-driven business perspective, you want to be able to track all that data because you're defining your purpose, not just by profitability and revenue, you're defining it by the impact you say, your purpose that you say you're in business for, right? But also, when you're breaking things down even further, let's say for a salesperson will learn by studying all the metrics. Well, in order for a client or a prospect to become a client, it takes, I'm making up numbers because every industry is different. It takes 5 emails, 2 phone calls, or 5 emails, a phone call, and a meeting before that person's ever going to become a client. That's on average. So I know in 2024 that before I ever start that process with the client, I know I'm going to have at least 7 touch points with that person before they ever become a client. So you plan accordingly. So it's longer than you hear about the sales cycle, right? On average, most sales cycles, depending on the business, will say 45 days, right? For a sales cycle. that's good information. But what's more important to a salesperson, I'm just using sales now. This can be going in all areas of a business, but for a salesperson, it's more important to know the activities than the days. So you take that 45 days, and if you know, well, it's going to take 5 emails, 2 phone calls, and a business meeting before that prospect becomes a client, I got to hit all that within the 45 days. That's easier to manage. Now I know what I'm doing.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tiffany Greene dropping nuggets of knowledge on us. Okay, ma'am. So when those are all documented in CRM, so what you're saying is when I'm meeting a person on the go, on the fly, I'm taking a phone call. Hey, Mike, do you know? What you're saying is all of that needs to be by email, basically, so I can track it and keep track of it.
No, so you can.
Or remember that I've talked to 4 people today and told 2 of them, this is what you need to do, and I'll connect you with this other person.
So it's about establishing a habit, right? And so it's like when a lot of the CRMs, not all of them, but most of them have an app now on your phone. So if you're out and about, let's say you're at a networking event, you just connected 2 people right there in your phone on that app, you add that task, just connected these 2 people right there in your phone.
Okay.
And like that's another thing. I mean, most of the apps today, you can even scan business cards. So all that information goes right in. So if you just met somebody and they weren't already in your CRM, scan the business card. The business card goes into the CRM. As soon as we're talking like seconds, right? If that, go into the record and add what you just did with that new contact. See, data is power. We all know this, right? The old saying used to be what? Cash is king.
Cash is king.
Not anymore.
Data.
Data is this is my saying, so I apologize, but data is the king, the queen, and the whole royal court.
That's the power of knowing your data.
It's all about data. And no matter the data helps you run your business effectively. Data is what also helps your prospects and clients understand who you are, because it's also what's driving your purpose. So if you look at a nonprofit organization, what do you want to see from that nonprofit?
You want to see how much of the money that's taken in reality gets to the bottom line to help the person,
right?
To help the community.
They want to know how, okay, out of this amount of donations, okay, they generate this much. This is in how many people were served, or this is what was done for the environment, or whatever cause. This is what was done. These are the results, right? They need the numbers to back it, right? They need to see, right? You know, the truth is in business too. And this is where in the for-profit world, where for-profit gets confused, because for-profits think, oh, I got to be a B Corp, right, to show what I've done, how many people, or how I've impacted the community. No, because people are buying from those organizations that are impacting the community. So you too, as a for-profit, need to show your impact. Think about it this way: if I was if I'm a for-profit business and I'm employing, let's just say 20 people, right? I'm helping to support 20 potential families. That's giving back to the community. That's one way, right? So if you're defining your purpose of how you're giving back to the community, could that be paid a piece of the pie, a piece of the data that you want to report on?
Yes.
But do businesses report on that? Yes. But why are they reporting on it? Not as a community, like most of them, they're not saying this is how we're directly impacting your community. They're reporting to let you know how successful their size are. So we know, well, if they have 20 employees or less, that's a good target market for us to, pitch to another, like a B2B business. But it's not necessarily a KPI. So it's about thinking about things in a whole new way.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tiffany Greene, how can people find out information about Empower People?
They just need to go to MPWRPeople.org, and that's MPWRPeople.org. And if they have any questions for me, they can reach out to me via email, TJ, as in Tiffany Joy Greene with an E at the end, at empowerpeople.org. And you can also find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube.
So Tiffany Greene is here with us. She's saying that data, big data, is the king, the queen, the whole court. How many people really harness that, the power of that?
Not enough. So back in the day, many years ago, when I had started up a women's business center, most small businesses that would come in, the number one complaint would be Walmart. They hated Walmart. It was like Walmart was the big bad wolf. And I would say, okay, instead of focusing or taking that energy and hating Walmart, let's learn from Walmart. Okay. So I would say, what does Walmart do right? Forget about how you think Walmart's stealing your business and killing the small business and what they're doing and their relations with China, blah, blah, blah. We could go on forever. Forget about that. What can we learn from Walmart? And they're like, guards up. I can't learn anything from Walmart. How am I supposed to compete with Walmart, right? I said, well, let's look at this. So back in the 2000s, like early 2000s, before we were out where we are today, Walmart used to know that if a tornado was going to come hit Arkansas, Bentonville, Arkansas, that they would have to have a surplus of strawberry Pop-Tarts because for whatever reason, citizens in that area wanted strawberry Pop-Tarts when a tornado was coming through. So Walmart knew to order a surplus of strawberry Pop-Tarts. There was the only grocery store in Bentonville that have enough strawberry Pop-Tarts, more than any other place that they could find strawberry Pop-Tarts. They knew the power of data. Now, is that being the big bad wolf, or is that knowing your customer?
That's knowing your customer.
Data is what helps you know your clients and customers. It's not just it's about, instead of thinking about just competitive edge, which it does give you a competitive edge, it's about being client-centric, right? It's about being customer-centric. So what I would say to the small businesses, can you do all of the things that a large corporation does? Depending, right? What do I mean by that? Conceptually, yes. Conceptually, you can. Are you going to have all the systems in place? No. Do you need all those systems? No. But can you still get data? Yes. Now, some businesses will say, I don't have time for that. Well, if you don't have time for that, you're not prioritizing what? You're not prioritizing your customers or clients. Because the truth is in the data. The truth is what tells you about your customers and clients. So if you're truly client-centric, you are going to focus on that data. And there's a variety of tools to keep track of it.
Because I think and I know from my standpoint, you're too busy living in the moment to capture that bit of data right then. And then you replicate that 2 or 3 times today, 4 or 5 times tomorrow. And all those are touch points that just went away. And we're just like, we didn't get that to harness the power of the data. Those were conversations that were had. Okay, so how about this one, Tiffany Greene? You're the sharp one out there. So I meet just a random person. They are not in my CRM as a client, a potential prospect, anything like that. They just came across my screen and someone said, hey, call Mike, they need some help. How do I track that interaction?
So again, it depends on the tool you use, but generally speaking, when you have your CRM, you segment your contacts. So you can segment your contacts based on, are they current customers or clients? Are they prospects? Are they what I call, not just me, but in the industry, MQLs or SQLs? MQL stands for marketing qualified lead, or an SQL, which could be a sales qualified lead. Or are they just a pure cold contact, meaning like you've done your research, you spotted them on LinkedIn, social media somewhere, and you're like, you know what, I think they'd be an appropriate person to contact. So you can segment all of your contacts in so as you're plugging in the data of like address, phone number, email, you segment which category do they belong.
Okay.
So it just is a matter of getting in the habit of automatically doing that when you're importing somebody new into your CRM.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen, Tiffany Greene, the power of the CRM. It's out there, people use it, but you're saying people do not use it enough because there's power in the data.
There is so much power in the data. So I can't tell you how many times over the years I've worked with a variety of clients, a variety of sizes, from a small business to a mid-sized business, where they tell me who they think their primary client is or customer, and they tell me what they think the product or service that actually draws in the most customers and the clients. And guess what? How many times, without looking at data, they're wrong. Once we look
Most
at the
of the
data,
time.
yeah, once we look at the data, we find out something else.
Because a lot of times without the data, we're just in the military used to call it a swag, scientific wild guess. Because we didn't have the data and we're just like, well, I think it's, and a lot of times it's not totally correct.
Well, it's because we're projecting, because we're human beings and we're projecting what we think it should be or what we think it is, not necessarily what it is. Perception is reality. So if my perception is my number one type of customer is XYZ, my perception is my reality. The only way to shatter my perception is to look at facts, which is the data.
Okay, Tiffany Greene is here with us. All right, how many people are out there saying, who's your prospect? And there are some people who still say everybody. Do you still hear that?
Yes, because people are afraid. Well, what it comes down to is they're afraid to say no. They're afraid to have somebody come to them and say, can I do business with you? And the business owner is afraid to say, yeah, you don't qualify for our services. So no, we can't do business with you, because the idea of turning away business is a scary proposition. That's
Yes, it is.
right. But when you got to know who you can serve, because when you're serving everybody, you're serving nobody. But here's the thing. Back in the day, you would hear about target markets, right? And so you would hear about niches, right? And what is a niche? Well, I'm only going to serve the small business HVAC market, right? That would be a niche. But there's a wide variety of ways to break up who your target market or buyer personas are, and it doesn't have to be by industry. So what happens to us, a lot of businesses, especially small businesses, they get caught up in like, well, what industry do I need to focus on? Well, maybe industry in your case isn't the differentiator. Maybe that's not the niche or the target market you're serving, right? Maybe it's another qualifier. I mean, I know folks who only work with B Corps. Well, B Corp in a variety of industries, right? But they're only work with B Corps. So you can choose your niche, not just based on industry, which seemed to be the case. That's the old school way of doing things. It can be, you can choose your niche, your target market, based on a variety of factors. So for instance, for me with my consulting business, there's two things I look for. Neither of them are industry based, because I work with a wide variety of industries, because my education experience, I've worked across a wide variety of industries. Mine is growth focused and purpose driven. If you do not have those two qualities, you're not going to be a good, we're not going to be a good partnership. Because if you're looking to maintain, I'm not your go-to resources, but if you're looking to grow, there you go. If you are purpose driven and you get what purpose driven means, good fit. But if all you're focusing on is the profit line and you don't really get this, you think this purpose driven thing is too much, what would we call it? Gumdrops and rainbows or whatever?
It's gobbledygook, it's rainbows and unicorns, and it's just touchy-feely good stuff.
Won't be a good fit. And you got to be okay with that. You got to be, it's like, I like to think it's like dating. You got to know what you're looking for, and you got to know what your deal breakers are.
Oh, there you go, Tiffany Greene. So now you are letting people know we're equating the good business to understanding your dating perceptions. You got to know what you look for. So my prospects are everyone is not a good answer.
No, we know what we call those people, and I'm just gonna leave it there in the dating world.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tiffany Greene. How can people find you out there, ma'am?
You can find me on the website, empowerpeople.org. That's MPWRpeople.org. They can reach me by email, easiest way, because a lot of times I'm in meetings. So TJ Greene, that's Tiffany Joy Greene with an E at the end, at empowerpeople.org. And they can find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube.
Hashtag. You didn't say it.
I didn't say
What
it.
am I, Mike?
Set me up better for it. Usually you say how to spell it, and then I go,
Hashtag. Tiffany Greene, I'd like to thank you for joining us on the mic with Mike. Tiffany Greene, she is out there doing amazing work. We just had Stacy Briley Goodman here. We also talked about John from Launch, as well as Brian from Tinker. And we're saying you are the mastermind behind your group. You put together your Justice League.
the ecosystem, yes, Empower Forum, which is our ecosystem that's serving small businesses and nonprofits. So their main purpose is to focus on small business and nonprofits, because they believe that small business and nonprofits are the backbone of our economies and community. So they're hyper focused on making them succeed.
There you go. I'm glad to be part of it. Thanks. So take care now.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.